Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Ethan, and this is episode 23. And today we are going to go and see X-Men United, the core box. We're going to see a few more characters, as well as a new feature that is going to be really cool. It adds a fifth player, and in a really cool way. This episode is going to be super awesome, super fun, and I brought along someone as well to help me out. Talking about these characters, and about this feature. Could you please introduce to yourself?
Villains, baby! Yeah, I'm Ethan's dad, Rick Mullet. And, just looking forward to talking about this new villain mode. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
I think it's going to be pretty cool, too. And we have a fantastic show scheduled for you today. And, we're going to start things off, of course, going in-depth with two characters. Today we are going to go in-depth with Beast and Professor X. Two great characters. But we're going to see. We're going to see what is our opinion on these characters. So first, let's go into Beast. So Beast here has 6 move symbols, 4 hits, 7 heroics, and 3 wilds. Pretty good. I mean, won't you say? I mean, I personally like those moves. The 6 moves on Beast is really well. But it's not just moving. We see here that Beast does a lot as well. You know, he can hit 4, which is an average. But he can do 7 heroics. That is really, really well. Any comments on those stats?
I think it's, like you said, obviously he's a mover because he's the Beast and he's super athletic. And these heroics play into, really, our next character we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. They really synergize really good, play together really good, because one of the things we notice on the Beast is one of his superpowers is that he can treat any heroic symbol as a wild symbol. So, again, I think that's thematic, right? He's super agile, can do anything, and bounce around, and really can treat a heroic symbol as that. And that's really any tokens he's been given as well, which I think is pretty powerful.
Yes, 100%. And I do love that ability because, as we know, Beast with 7 heroics, I mean, that is 7 potential wilds that he could do. I love that. I really love that. And
but it's only on that turn, though, right? So
yes, only on this turn.
Again, it's only going to help him if he has tokens that each of those cards have 1 heroic spot on it. Mm-hmm. So obviously, if the previous card played had a bunch of heroics, he's going to be able to treat them all like that. Yes. And if he has any tokens like that.
Yes. Basically anything that he is able to play as a heroic can be used as a wild.
Yeah.
I really love that ability. And below that card, the Genius Intelligence, he has a heroic symbol there, so you can instantly treat that as a wild. And Beast also has one of my favorite abilities in the game. I don't know about you, Dad, but he has Regeneration Factor, which is you may draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. And this isn't just a great ability to if you have 2 cards in your hand or 1 card. If you play this ability, you can get back to your starting number, which is 3.
Yeah, it's similar to what Wolverine had, just basically an ability to heal back up. And obviously Wolverine's happened every turn, not just 1 card, but that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. And what I also like here too is that it's a 2 symbol card, which is very amazing. Again, 2 symbol cards doesn't just help you do more actions; it helps it helps the team. Because after you play that card, the next person is going to play that card, and that's the card they're going to play off of. And if you have lots of great symbols, like for example, Beast, he has lots of move and hits, lots of move and heroics in his deck. You're going to really be doing lots in your turn, even if you're Beast or not.
Yeah, he's got 4 moving hits, including that regeneration one. He's got 5 moves total, so he can get around the board. It's kind of a well-rounded character, especially with that ability to treat heroics as wilds.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, 8 2-symbol cards. The average is usually around 5 or 4, kind of around there. So having 8, that is fantastic. And like you said, he's a very well-balanced character. So I personally think that Beast is one of the best characters in the X-Men core box right now. At least my opinion. Maybe even the entire game. I don't know. Well, any extra comments on the Beast?
No, I think he's a pretty great character to have, and he can really fit in any scenario, like you said. So I would agree with that.
Yes, 100%. If you wanted to know my official rating, it would probably be a 4.5 out of 5. That is one of the highest rated characters ever in the game. Anyway, let us move on here to the next character, Professor X. Let's see what he can do. He has 4 moves, 4 hits, 5 heroics, and 3 wilds. So yeah, what do you think, of these stats? What do you think?
Well, the stats by themselves, are pretty pedestrian. They're not that great.
Yeah.
But that's not where Professor X's power lies.
No, he is not.
He has, if I counted right when I was looking it up, I believe he has 6 cards with powers on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where his abilities lie at, is that power. So, yeah, he's not by himself going to just run around and beat. I think he's got 4 2-symbol cards.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's got an extra wild.
5 2-symbol cards.
5 2-symbol cards, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got an extra wild.
Yep.
And,
extra wild.
well, when you count 2-symbol cards, do you count the double wild?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I do. Sometimes I don't, but yes, I do.
Okay, because that's what I was counting. I wasn't counting that too. So
yeah.
Without the double wild, he's got 4. But he, like I said, he's got an extra single wild, and that lets you choose any other hero. It's called telepathy. Choose any other hero, and they can swap any number of their cards from their hand with their cards in the storyline. Not just one card.
No.
Any card from the storyline, as many as they want. That's pretty powerful.
That's pretty good. We've seen those with other characters as well. I can't really think right now, but there is a few characters in Marvel United who could do that, but not as powerful as Professor X.
Yeah, they could do like one.
One.
Right? Adam Warlock could do one,
yes.
I think. But
Adam
not as many as you want.
Yes.
So you could go through and let Beast get all his regenerative cards back. Or, any of these... Look, you're playing with the Punisher and get all his ranged attacks back. And not only are you getting those, they're in your hand now.
That's true.
They're not stuck in the timeline. You're not waiting for them in the deck. You have all of those cards back in your hand.
Man, it's just that ability is superior than all of those types of abilities. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It is, and you think about if you combo it with somebody from the old box, and you know more than I do about it, but like She-Hulk, if she has certain cards in the timeline, that makes her powerful. So using this with She-Hulk, she could take all those cards out of her hand and place them right in the timeline immediately.
Yeah, it's not just grabbing those good cards back to your hand, it's also putting
stuff
good cards in the storyline.
Yeah, so
like you said with She-Hulk. Great example.
That's just one example, of his. His leadership ability, I think it teams up really good with Beast, because he can give 2 leadership or heroic tokens to another character. Which you pair that with Beast. Now Beast has 2 wild tokens basically in his hand. Pretty powerful stuff.
I mean, if you just think about it, like you said, he has the best type of storyline ability, to get those cards back or play them. But he also has that great ability of giving tokens to people. And honestly, I mean, just by looking, he might be maybe a little bit better in the leadership or the style of game than Captain America. Personally, for me, I always think Captain America is a great supportive character because he gives out those symbols, those heroic symbols. But Professor X can do that and a little bit more. And, just with one card, out of the three, just with one card, he can give out 2 heroics. With 3 cards of Captain America, he only gives out 3 heroics.
Right.
So you are getting so much more with Professor X and his abilities than what a normal supportive character would.
Yeah, and he can give 2 heroics with the one card. The other leadership card can give out 2 hit tokens.
Oh, man.
So that's, again, just, the opportunity there to spread it around. Mm-hmm. He also has the ability Beast has. With his genius intelligence, one of them lets him treat any heroic symbol as a wild. Mm-hmm. The other one lets him treat a hit token as a wild. So he is like the perfect support character. He can play with anybody. He's got 4 2 symbol cards, not counting the double wild. So the only thing probably his main downfall is he doesn't move very much.
That's true. But honestly, I mean, yes, he cannot move. It's average, his move symbols. But from what I've seen, I've actually seen that his stats are a little bit higher than the normal. I wouldn't put Professor X at all and one of the worst characters.
No, I think he's a powerful character.
Yes,
he's powerful on a big team,
big team especially. But even I remember I played a game a few weeks ago with Professor X and Beast, just with 2 characters, and they were just going back and forth. I mean, it was just a great combo. I played with Professor X quite a few times with a few more characters, and man, he's just really supportive, and like you say, he can kind of fit with almost just anybody. He's a great teammate as well. So
he's a leader. He's the professor.
He is. Well, if you want to know what my rating for Professor X is, it is a 4 out of 5. I think he's really good. Just his stats aren't that high, but of course that's not his stronghold. But still, he's a really strong character. Well, Any other comments as well for Professor X or for Beast?
I think he's really powerful. I just think he can fit in any kind of match. He can go up against any kind of villain. Mm-hmm. He is the ultimate flexible character, so definitely should be rated high.
Yes, 100%. Well, we just went through the 2 characters here today, Beast and Professor X. 2 really strong characters, we ain't gonna lie. But now it's time to move on to one of the coolest features in the in the new X-Men United core box. All right, we are here. A cool feature, a brand new feature that I am super excited to try out. Super villain mode.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one.
Oh my goodness. So basically, we're just going to be covering a few of the rules and changes in this mode. We're not going to cover everything, just a few things. Also, what is supervillain mode? The biggest question here today. Well, supervillain mode basically lets a player,
a human player,
be the villain. Yes, now you have the opportunity to not play just 1 to 4 or 2 to 4. Now you have the opportunity of playing 2 to 5. Adding an extra player.
Instead of 1 to 4, 2 to 5, right? Because you obviously wouldn't just play the villain.
No.
You need to have somebody there. So.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So it adds a 5th player component, which is kind of nice if you need 5-player games. Mm-hmm. But if you have 2 players, you're not just constantly playing just the console, for lack of a better term. Somebody could play the villain, which again adds a little more variety to the game. Yeah. And it makes those villains a lot tougher.
It does.
Because now, instead of it just being a random card, obviously there can be some plans behind what cards get played. But I'll let you get into how super villain mode works.
Yeah, no, I'm totally excited. Can't wait to see how it works.
Do you want to talk through how setup works in supervillain mode first?
Yes, let's do that. Actually, let's talk about how the villain sets up the game. Let's do that. So basically, a human someone, is gonna pick a villain. Literally, folks, any villain from the X-Men United box or the Marvel United box. Any of the expansions, any villain, not just anti-heroes. So that gives you lots of options to pick. Then, basically, it's very simple. There's 2 steps. The villain player, of course, is going to set up, their master plan deck. It's going to set up their threats, like a normal setup. But then, the villain player is going to draw 4 super villain cards, and is only going to keep 3. And in secret, of course, in secret.
Yeah, and these are something new to the game. These super villain cards, there's about 10 of them. And they have basically 2 components to the card. So there's a trigger piece, and that is what happens in the game that allows you to play one of these cards. So, for example, if any time, and this can happen on the hero's turn or the villain turn, but you can only play them on one turn. Anytime, for example, getting stronger, me too. That's what one of the supervillain cards is played. The trigger is anytime a hero has 4 or more cards in their hand, at the end of their hero turn, you could play this supervillain card, and the effect is basically the villain would get to add 2 health to their game. So it matches that. Getting stronger, right? The hero having extra card, extra health. Now the villain does too. So, there's 10 of these things. They have suckers. They have different triggers. And very cool effects that can happen. So that's basically what you're getting with these new feature, the supervillain cards. And again, they're random, so they're different each game.
Yep.
And you can play them with any villain.
100%. And just a little note here, because in the rules it says that when you play a supervillain card, it does not count as a villain turn.
Correct. Right.
It's just something extra.
It's just something that happens in the game. It's an event, basically, that happens in the game.
Now, according to not just the rules, but as well as some of the cards, if you use up all 3 cards, there's no way of getting more cards.
That's it. Free for the game, so you got to use them just right. You're right. You're right. So that's
attention.
something else you get at the beginning of the game, and then. The villain starts similar to the players. They draw a couple cards off the master plan deck. Is that right to start with?
Yes. They draw 2 cards. They draw 2 cards, and then, of course, they pick one and place it down when it's their turn. And then after that, they draw a card, having 2 in their hand always.
Right. And then the villains still start the game as normal. Yes. So they start by having 3. So they'll have the 2... master plan cards, and then they'll start their turn by drawing a card as normal. Yes.
Yes.
But the other part of the setup that's something cool is they have to give some tokens to the heroes.
Yes, actually, that is true. If you are playing in the supervillain mode, at the back of some of the villains, or actually of all the villains in the X-Men boxes, you will see right there on the back saying supervillain, and then it'll say a little note here that says heroes starting tokens, and the tokens indicated down below is what the heroes get, basically. And this basically just adds a little bit of balance to the game for the heroes, because I've heard that when the villain really gets going, he gets going. There's nothing stopping that train. Now the
villain can really use the cards at the right time instead of it being random. We've all gotten rolled by a bad draw of master plan cards where the worst cards come at the worst time. Well, now with somebody playing the villain, they can guarantee those cards. So these tokens kind of bring some balance. So for example, on the back of Magneto's card where the setup is, now there's that supervillain box. And just to give you an idea of how powerful Magneto is when somebody's controlling him, you have to give the heroes 4 wild tokens and 2 hit tokens to start the game. Yeah. And they can share those amongst themselves how they deem fit, correct?
Yeah, it's a hero pool, and any hero can use it, but of course they have to use it wisely.
But of course, somebody's like, well, hey, Ethan, you just said I could use my villains in the Marvel United box. Yep. But the Marvel United villains don't have tokens on the back. How's that going to work?
Well, CMON, their website, is that correct? Yep. They have all of the Marvel United villains, and basically they've upgraded them where they have the supervillain, the starting hero tokens. So now all you have to do is just go into their website, look at the villain that you are playing, if it's in the Marvel United box, and you play. I mean, you play. Everything else is the same. And, so you are able to play with any villain. That's actually really cool that they did that by their part.
And you were going to put a link to that page where you can find those inside the Board Game Geek list. Is that correct? Where the podcast is at?
Yes, 100%. Yes. I will put that in the link in the description.
For the episode.
Yeah, for the episode. It should be down below where you click on hearing the episode. So yes, I will put that link there. And also some of the villains as well also have the special setup. Just wanted to make clear, in case if there's any questions, the super villain mode does not affect any of those setups. For example, Green Goblin or Magneto, they have these special setups that they need to do. That does not change. Everything else is the same other than the changes in the setup. Well, now that was just the villains. Now it's time for the heroes. A little bit of changes, but really not as much. So let's check them out. For the heroes, individually, every hero will pick 2 superhero cards and only chooses 1. Dad, could you give us maybe some examples of what are these cards that the heroes might get? And tell me the ones that you personally like.
Yeah, well, there's 8 of these again. Very similar to the supervillain cards. They have a trigger and an effect. Mm-hmm. So anytime that something happens to trigger these, the heroes can then go ahead and use it. So, for example, to the rescue. Someone could play this. Another hero, someone else is about to take damage. Maybe it's going to knock them down. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's going to cause some kind of ripple effect during a villain turn. You can play this, and you can take the damage instead and give yourself a heroic token, which is cool. Mm-hmm. Again, somebody like a Beast or a Professor X that can use those tokens as wild.
Advantage.
Again, you can see an advantage there. Mm-hmm. Another one that's kind of cool to me is Shake It Off. When you're about to take damage, you can just play this card and ignore 2 of that damage right off the bat. So you don't have to lose those good cards that you were going to get moving forward. That's pretty awesome. Another one I kind of think's kind of neat because sometimes you get to a spot and there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
You've got Eye of the Hurricane. So again, if you're sitting in a spot and there's no civilians or bad dudes at the end of the villain turn, you can just use this to draw an extra card.
Yeah.
So just boom, you have another card. So I think some of these are pretty cool. Just give you a little bit of a boost. None of these are quite as earth-shattering, I think, as some of the villain cards are. Mm-hmm. But again, it's just another way for you to kind of, balance the game. And the fact you choose 2 and keep 1, it kind of lets you pick one maybe that plays to your character or your team style.
Yes, 100%. And, just looking at the whole team, because every hero has these. As like the tokens where you can share them, these hero cards you cannot share. They are for your individual self, for your individual character. So choose wisely what card happens, and of course, choose the right trigger. Always pay attention, especially if you've played against any of these villains, what they do, what's their main thing that might trigger the trigger.
Yeah, I'm excited about this mode. This is like the one thing we talked about. I was trying to think of ways to do it where you could control the villain, to make it hard, to bring a challenge, having a group of folks playing against one player. I mean, I've always liked games that are like the one versus many concept, right? Going back to Star Wars Imperial Assault days from Fantasy Flight, where one person played the Empire and all the other players played the heroes, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's the greatest game in the world, but it was fun, to have that kind of interaction, right?
Yes, 100%.
And, and it's kind of cool, too, if you've got newer players. Mm-hmm. The other way to look at it is, we focused a lot on that villain player can make it really hard. Well, if you're playing with a lot of new players, you're trying to get them into the game, you could kind of dial back that difficulty, right? And not let them get destroyed on it their first time they're ever playing. You could kind of let them
so they get the
gain
feel.
some things and feel a victory, right? We're playing with your brother who's younger. Mm-hmm. We can dial that back, right? You don't want people to feel like they get smashed when they're coming into the hobby. And to me, Marvel United, X-Men United, it's one of the great what we would call gateway games.
Oh,
One of the greatest
one of the
games to
best.
get people in. It's Marvel. It's characters they know.
Simple.
It's X-Men. It's simple. But it's cool. You
It's
feel like you're
cool.
doing something.
Yeah.
You're working together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just the ability to kind of control that villain, just looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool also.
Yeah, I do like that, and I do like that, and just the one versus many is always a great concept of a game. You have your team against one player, and that's always fun. And even if you're putting newer players with more experienced players, that team of heroes can really, the experienced players can give some pointers out and see, maybe if you go, not plan out the entire game for them, but just saying, here is always good. Getting these threat cards cleared is always a great thing. Things like that. Just let them figure it out. And like you said, Marvel United is a simple game, easy, and especially with the super villain mode, you can make it even funner. And I just think it's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm glad they did this addition to it. It'd be good to talk through the remaining characters. But, I really just can't wait to get the rest of the box. That's coming.
Oh, my gosh.
We're all in on this, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, have you seen... for those of you who haven't seen, obviously we've seen it, but there's, I haven't checked the page in a while, but there's, 10 expansion boxes coming. Maybe 12.
It's bigger than the original Marvel United. I do know that.
Oh, yes.
But you got an unbelievable amount of X-Men characters. I mean, you've got First Class, you've got
people you don't even know.
Red Team, Blue Team, or Blue Team, Gold Team, excuse me. You've got the Canadian, X-Men. You've got the Fantastic Four got thrown in with this.
Yes.
That's going to be fantastic.
Fantastic.
For those who are fans, Deadpool's coming. So
yes.
you got a lot. I think there's more characters. It was a bigger Kickstarter this time. So
it was.
It's going to be exciting, and then you can just mash those all up. But even if you don't get into all that and want to drop, the money and the expense, because it's not cheap to get into all of those. That's what's nice about the game is you can, that core box, there's so much going on there. If you have the 2 core boxes,
you got
so much to play here. You have this villain mode now to your original core box.
And
pretty cool.
The X-Men United core box as well, because the Marvel United doesn't have this, but in this box you have the 2 villains, but you also have the 2 anti-heroes that can give you even more heroes or more villains. So you have a total with the 2 boxes a potential of 6 villains to play with, and I don't know the exact count for the heroes, but you have more than 12 heroes and 6 villains. That's a lot of just gameplay and a lot of cool combos that you can make.
Yeah, and now you're adding a whole other way to control the game. So
yes.
It's just pretty cool.
And it's cool because the promo box as well is an inch thicker than our
Kickstarter box that comes with all the people that are part of that Kickstarter. Yeah, it's crazy, all the people that are coming. But and that's the thing too. So we'll get into more of that, I'm sure, as the thing comes along. But just I don't think people need to be scared if I didn't get in the Kickstarter, I can't have fun with this game. This game's a fun game. We've had other family members that have enjoyed it, and they went out to Walmart, Target, picked up the core box from Marvel United. They're just getting through it, and not everybody has to be a crazy junkie like me and you are on these games. So.
Yes, but again, like you said, a lot of people are buying it because it's super simple, super fun, and still has that complexity in it to make it.
It's got strategy. It's easier to learn and can be a little harder to master. So it's kind of fun. Now you got a bad guy to play against you. So.
Yes, 100%. And just a little story here. It was so funny. So one of our family members bought the game, and they didn't go all out on it. They just bought the Marvel core box, the main one. And they started playing, and for newcomers, they can get an idea of this character's good, this character's bad. But not bragging, not at all, not saying nothing bad, but I've played the game over 150 times. I don't know why, I don't know how the count got that high, but I've played it that much. I've thought, maybe this character's good. I have a little bit more experience, like, I think this character's good. Maybe this character's not so good because, compared to these others, things like that. But it's just so funny to see these new players come in and be like, I think Captain America is not a good player. I don't know for you guys, if you guys, it's just, I'm like,
yeah, but that's the best part, though, is they can kind of learn that and do it. And obviously, I think the thing that we know, obviously, is if you've played 150 times, we got to find you some more chores to do around the house.
I got to do that 150 times.
You've got too much time on your hands, I think. So.
Well, yeah, but still, it's such a great game. We have fun, talking about it and playing it, as well as my brother. He might not always play it like me. He might not go all out on that, but he definitely enjoys it, when he wants to play it. And, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just went through some X-Men United awesome stuff. We went through Beast, flipping through my script here. We went through some Beasts, as well as Professor X, great characters, I've said before. We've also went into the super villain mode, which we've talked a lot about things that can happen in the future, great things for new players, all that fun stuff, as well as a few experiences that we've had. Great episode, and also just a few updates, news, probably, hopefully, maybe the next month or so we might, I'll still be doing some more episodes before a nice long episode like this one. We might do it maybe under a month. Maybe we'll do X-Men United Part 3, and we'll talk about a few more characters and talk about the anti-heroes, get to know them a little bit more, what they do, and who is coming in the future as well for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one more quick thing I forgot to mention as well. I am also doing I'm upgrading the website for Roster United. It was a great place, great thing. A lot of people have gotten there to see, what abilities, what stats they've had, what cool things, cool lists that I've had the pleasure and enjoyment of doing. And now I am actually working on a new website. It won't be done for a while. I'm still working on it, but basically it's going to bring everything that you know and love of the game in one place. And I am currently working on it right now. And it's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot simpler to find these characters because, the last website, it was just kind of plain. There wasn't too much, but now I'm like, well, I know about the game, I know these characters, I have a little base going, now let's expand on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all of the news and updates for the future and things like that. I hope you have a fantastic day. I am your host, Ethan.
And I'm Rick.
And this is Roster United. Have a great day.